this house, the information before this house is that the honorable member for Akwetia has been convicted. And he's become a fugitive of justice.
It is most unfair for Mr. Dafiamekpor to describe a respected colleague as a fugitive. Never again should
Honorable minority leader have not. So you should listen to me in much pain and in silence. I know
on the proper law. Let me now respond to him on the proper law. But as smart as he is, and as I know him to be, when he was landing, he argued some law to create a ventilation for his own argument. And that is that ventilation that I will use to arrest his argument. What was the ventilation? He said, unless the member has filed an appeal and is staying the execution of the order. So, Mr. Speaker, as smart as he is, he created that ventilation. I am able, as a leader of my side, to provide him with that information. That, Mr. Speaker, if his concerns is about the rule of law, this side would always respect the rule of law. The honorable member has indeed filed an appeal, filed a stay of execution, and for your information, there was a stay of proceedings. There was a stay of proceedings application pending before the very judge. A stay of, yes, and you are a practitioner. A stay of proceedings application pending before the very judge. Mr. Speaker, there was also an application invoking the supervisory jurisdiction of the court, of the Supreme Court, under Article 132 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the court below, the High Court in Koforidua, had been served, and the registrar of the court indeed had brought that process to the attention and notice of the judge. Mr. Speaker, our side, even where we disagree, we will not go insulting judges. The fact that we have been quiet does not mean that we think the judge has been fair to us. And you will not see us calling the judge names. We are not like some people. When we disagree with a judge, we will use lawful process and lawful means to challenge the orders of the court. Mr. Speaker, we are saying that there is a process pending before the court. There is no finality in the matter in issue. The honorable majority leader who raised the matter knows very well that a conviction, even if the member has been served, the judge himself said he was going to have time. Honorable members,
Honorable, hold on. Yes, Honorable Dafiamekpor.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to intervene in pursuance of Order 1221A. First of all, it is most inaccurate for the minority leader to submit on this floor that the majority at the time, before the general elections of 7th December, we forcefully refused to respect the court order. It cannot be accurate. The terms of the court order were specific. The court orders were directed at the Speaker to perform a certain function. And being the occupier of that seat, we submitted that until that decision was taken by the House. The status quo ante will remain. What was the status quo ante? Our position by occupying the majority side before the court decision. That cannot be erroneous in law. The court itself ordered that the House must take that decision. So for him to submit that we unlawfully, forcefully, and refuse to obey the court order, that cannot be allowed to form part of the records of this House. Tomorrow it can be invoked against us. That's one. Two, Speaker, when you are convicted by a court of competent jurisdiction, you don't file stay of proceedings. They have been convicted. Waters have passed under the bridge. You are convicted. Please, I'm not misquoting you. I heard you clearly.
I was waiting to tell you. I was waiting to respond.
Speaker, I have not yielded the floor to the honorable minority leader. I have not. So you should listen to me in much pain and in silence. I know he'll come back. If you are convicted by a competent court of jurisdiction, conviction, what follows is sentencing. And that is what is pending in this matter. You don't file a stay of proceedings, with all due respect. Now, third, Mr. Speaker, I rose, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Dafiamekpor.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Dafiamekpor.
Mr. Speaker.
Listen. You see, he was speaking. I would have given you opportunity to also speak if you had allowed him to finish. I thought you were coming to a point. Coming on point of order, but
Mr.
please,
Speaker,
you've raised the issue. Let him finish.
Mr. Speaker, I am not. Mr. Speaker, I'm not done. I anchored my submission pursuance of Order 1221A. I am not done. Mr. Speaker, you give the minority leader sometimes 1 hour to make submissions. I have not even done 5 minutes. So permit me. This House is a house of politics. What is doing is politics. It is not religion. It is not faith. It is not economics. It is politics. What they seek to do is politics. And we cannot allow politics to impugn the integrity of the courts. We cannot. Mr. Speaker, this House is mandated in law not to engage in an irregularity, in any unlawful conduct. We cannot participate in it, and we cannot allow the House, properly constituted, to engage in it. It cannot. So Mr. Speaker, this House, the information before this House is that the honorable member for Akwetia has been convicted. And he's become a fugitive of justice. He's a fugitive of justice. Mr. Speaker, for what follows conviction is sentencing. What he should be doing is to sending his lawyers to the court, to the High Court, to submitting a plea of allocutus, a plea mitigation, pending sentencing. So, Mr. Speaker, we will not, and with all due deference to my leader, he gave a direction. Yes, by all means, we'll take that, but we won't yield the floor. We will not disengage, we will not depart, we will not participate in any proceedings that will allow the honorable member to have locus to make submissions on the floor. It won't happen.
Very well.
Mr. Speaker,
Very well.
so let me conclude by saying that the minority leader, an able lawyer that he is, eloquent that he is, should be advising his colleague to go and respect the court and submit to the powers of, even if you are proceeding to the Supreme Court or whichever court, you need to submit to the jurisdiction of the court first of all. You cannot be doing so as a fugitive of justice. An arrest warrant has been issued, properly issued, for his arrest. That this house cannot gloss over the issuance of an arrest warrant for him and I still permit him to have locus. Mr. Speaker, on this note, we want to urge you that, leader, if I have your permission, let me move that the House be adjourned. The House be adjourned. Let me move that the House be adjourned.
Yes, leader, let me hear you.
Mr. Speaker, let me refer my colleagues to the decision of the Supreme Court on the 18th of October 2024. Mr. Speaker, this is what the Supreme Court said. The Parliament of Ghana is hereby directed to recognize and allow the 4 members of Parliament herein named to duly represent their constituents and conduct full scope of duties of their offices as members of Parliament pending the determination of this suit. Mr. Speaker, in his submission, the Majority Chief Whip said that the court decided that this House should take a decision. The court directed, if people are diluting their law with politics, they should dilute it properly, because these are reputational issues. These are reputational issues. The Supreme Court did not urge upon us to take a decision. It directed. And I submit that they refused to respect the decision of the Supreme Court. That is what they did. And today, I am directly confronting you with that decision you took in October. Mr. Speaker, that aside, in my earlier submissions, my argument was to the effect that prior to the conviction, the court the court was seized with an application to stay proceedings. I didn't say that the man filed a stay of proceedings. I didn't say the man filed a stay of proceedings pending appeal. I didn't say that. He had a stay. Mr. Speaker, I know some people are at the back there. I am aware they have finished the LLB, and I know they are still attempting to get to the law school. I am a practitioner, Mr. Speaker. I am a courtroom practitioner. I know courtroom practice and courtroom rules. So I'm talking law, and I want my colleagues to listen. I'm saying that Honorable Kumi had filed a stay of proceedings application, which application was pending before the court at the time that the same court was seized with the application committing him for contempt. Was aware, and I am saying that the court, after its decision, there is a stay of execution and an appeal, notice of appeal. These two processes have been found. If they don't know, I'm letting them know now. It is most unfair for Mr. Dafiamekpor to describe a respected colleague as a fugitive. Never again should such a statement come out of the mouth of a colleague. Maybe today you find it convenient, but trust me, come on, await each one of us. You cannot describe your colleague as a fugitive. The man has submitted to the authority of the court. Is the reason why he has filed a notice of appeal and has supported that notice with a stay of execution. There is a stay of execution application, a stay of execution. Meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, let me also inform this House that prior to the High Court coming up with that decision, the High Court was again seized with the application invoking the supervisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court on its conduct, because the registrar of the court had been served, and the court indeed was on notice, but the court decided to proceed. We don't mind, because we believe that we can still rely on judicial processes. And I did say that our side does not take to the insults. We won't go on the radio to insulting judges when we disagree with them. It's the reason why we have been most decent. We will not go attacking a judge on social media and be using unprintable words on judges just because we disagree with them. No. Mr. Speaker, the invitation to you to restrict is most unfair. That invitation sits on stilts. That invitation is not based on any solid foundation in law. And Mr. Speaker, an attempt to be hoodwinked into any valley of confusion would amount to a general confusion in this House, because the majority leader knows that he was only doing politics and not doing law. knows that what he did was politics and not law. Mr. Speaker, in this House, how can a member of Parliament who in the performance of his parliamentary duties has not been served with the court process? Mr. Speaker, let them sit quietly and listen. Let me finish my submission. Mr. Speaker, if they want, then we should. What? Yes. Well, that's all right. Why? We cannot respond to you.
Oh no, but no, you let me listen to me. I'll come
Mr.
back.
Speaker, he has to finish. He has to listen to me.
I'll come back to
If he has
you.
a point of reply, he must. When Afenyo Markins speaks, many of you will get
Honorable members.
When Afenyo Markins, many points of order.
Honorable members.
When? Many points of order.
Honorable members.
You cannot
If
tolerate.
you wouldn't allow me, I will go ahead, suspend the House, and
You will not adjourn the House. Mr. Speaker, they want an adjournment. We would argue the case today. We will argue no adjournment. Mr. Speaker, we will argue. Let us argue the issues with the adjournment. You want an adjournment. You are running away. You brought your application, you are running away.
honorable
You
members,
brought your application, you are
the
running
time
away.
is 5 to 4 o'clock. You are in my hands. The House is accordingly adjourned.